Hi everyone, I am back and I have finished mending the two quilts. So next I'm supposed to be working on this quilt topper. Um, I was supposed to have ironed it. I have not yet because yeah, that would, be the next step. But sometimes in life you don't do what you're supposed to do. You go off on a tangent. And this is the tangent I went off on. Um, When I was doing this binding, there were a lot of pieces of fabric that I needed to trim off. And this is what they look like. They were just random little triangles. And I made these little things, little squares out of the two triangles that were my scraps. I did not explain very well why you need to cut them on a diagonal, so I thought I would explain that now because, yeah. So here it is when it's a triangle, and that means that pretty much the whole thing, that extra fabric inside, see all that extra fabric, is divided. See how it's split like this way and that way? So when you fold it over, I mean, you get a little bit of a lump, but not that bad. Now, if you would come over here and see, if I had actually done a straight seam, like, instead of a diagonal, when you go to fold it over, let me unclip. It's kind of hard to do one-handed because I'm holding my phone. Then you end up with a very, very, very bulky seam because it has all of these layers of fabric. See? And those layers of fabric are like 8 layers of fabric there. Where over here, because you have split it, it ends up only being, because you open up your seam too. See how when you open up your seam. So it's only 1, 2, 3 layers of fabric, and then you fold it over and it's just 2 more, so it's like 5. But over here, it would be, there's 4, and then you fold it over, and then you're going to be sewing like 8. So it's much less bulky, which doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but when you're already adding, this around, 2 pieces of fabric, because you've got your quilt sides, then batting, and then this, it ends up being, you're sewing through a lot. So you try and make your seams as less bulky as you can, and the way to do that is this. So that's the whole reason why you do the diagonal seams. I hope that makes sense. See? When you fold it in half, there's a seam here. Then when you fold it like this, that seam goes right here, right there, and it's less. Anyway, I didn't really explain the why I was going out of my way to make these weird diagonal seams, so I figured I should probably explain the why, because I'm a why person. I want to know why you have to do it that way, because it doesn't make sense to me. I hope that helps. Just like when you press your seams, you press them open like this, and that's so you don't have extra bulk like this. You can press them to whichever is lightest. Some people do it that way. You can either press them open or press them to, not the light side, the dark side. Press them to the dark side so that the fabric doesn't show through. So if you have like a white, do I have a white fabric? I do. And then if you have, like, say, a dark fabric and a light fabric together, like this, you can see that dark fabric under the seam. So instead of pressing it open, you would press all of the seams to the dark side. To the dark side. Yes. So along with these squares, which I might have accidentally sewed the wrong side here. And I need to unseam rip that and fix it because, whoops. Can you see that? That's the right side of the fabric. That's the wrong side. So this square is wrong. But that's because I was doing them in a big chain and, you know, a couple of them are wrong. That's okay. I can fix them. I noticed that when I was semi-pressing them open. I didn't actually press them open. I just went like this, which I didn't actually get my iron out. I just kind of finger pressed them. You know, when you scratch the fabric to keep the seams open, you can do that. You can just go, scratch it. If you don't feel like getting your iron out, sometimes that's what you do. Okay. And I cut these all janky because I was just cutting them and I wasn't actually intending to use these little triangles. And then I decided to actually use the triangles. So there's that also. So some of these are going to have to be fixed. I don't care. I don't care. But I have no idea what I'm going to do with these yet. And then I've got a bunch of extra pre-wash fabric because all of this was pre-washed so I could use it on that quilt. And fuzz from trimming and stuff. All of this pre-washed fabric. So I've got some of this blue left. I showed you some of the squares and other fabric that I washed just kind of to make squares. Some of it's blue and pink, which goes good with the blue and pink squares. So I've got that. And then I have a bunch of the flannel left over that I also pre-washed. Because, you know, you leave extra on the edges and then you quilt the fabric and then you trim off the edge. Because otherwise, if you cut it exactly to size, when you're sewing, sometimes, like, you know, fabric stretches weird and stuff. And then you might end up with, like, a little gap. So the backing fabric is always cut bigger and then trimmed off at the end when you're quilting. Just throwing that out there. And so this was the fabric I cut off. So it's like really random little strips. And then this was like just a bigger piece of fabric left over. And that's why this has lots of strips cut off. Which, you know, I didn't cut cleanly because I was actually just using scissors. So I'm just throwing that out there. And you can tell they're pre-washed because it's got lint. I didn't iron these. Some of them I ironed before I sewed them on. And some of them I just kind of left wonky because I was like, I'm not using that. So, anyway, that's where I'm at. Lots of stuff and some ideas. I'll be back.